we are very focused on terrorism and the things we've discussed here. The thing that's looming that we haven't yet adjusted to, what's coming and what is going to have, I believe, is having and will have dramatic impact on this country is cybersecurity. Let me put that in context. The information technology revolution has benefited everyone in this audience. You're more productive, your standard of living's gone up, you're more connected, it's more convenient, everybody has benefited. But it's also introduced a level of vulnerability that's perhaps unprecedented, in my view, at the strategic level. And I'll do it in a threat in a, sort of a simple way to say it. There's a threat of cyber warfare, nation state on nation state. We got them, they got them. There's a certain deterrent effect in that. It's not in the Chinese interest for the money supply in the United States to be destabilized. So they have a capability, we have a capability, there's some level of deterrence there. What I worry about is these countries, nation states, are building thousands of malware attack tools, and sooner or later they're going to bleed, they're going to leak, they're going to be sold on the black market. Now someone who is not deterred, can you think of an extremist group that have a different view, change the world order, they can attack a critical infrastructure that could be devastating for this country. Now there's another aspect that most people don't think about it. We are being literally raped of our intellectual property at the terabit level on a daily basis. There isn't a corporation, a government entity, there's nothing in this country that has not been penetrated by Chinese hackers for the purpose of extracting information, research and development, intellectual property, source code, next business plan. That's the thing that's slowly happening to us. And you know the old story about the frog. You put the frog in hot water, he jumps out. You put him in cold water and slowly boil him, you cook him. Well, we're being cooked. And what I worry about is this goes unchecked for the next 10, 15 years.
We're going to have questions from, go ahead, Jim.
So point one, the frog is a great motive. The cause of my life for the 10 years, the frog story is true if you can find the frogs whose brains have been removed. There was a scientist in Germany, you'll not be surprised to hear, who found this one time back in the 1800s. Other frogs, normal frogs, they'll jump out. So we need to find a...
Okay. Give me a better, yes, better way to say it.
So a couple of brief points. On the Chinese cyber issue, I agree that really is of first order importance, and you, as said the years, I was actually in China about a month ago talking with the PLA officials about this. And the only constructive theme which came out was the idea of treating this sort of the way we did nuclear weapons. It's something it's too dangerous for all the parties have to find ways to sort of step back from it. One other thing to say about resilience, I think, is a tendency of the news media to exaggerate any threat that's there. Cable news discovered long ago that if there wasn't a crime, a murder in your town or a tornado, there's a murder someplace else. And so to keep people riveted to the screen, it's this constant alarm mentality, and that's the part of this whole syndrome the media can reduce.
I agree, but one more thing to add to Mike's scary picture of cyber attacks, and that is it's not always nation state on nation state. Right. It can be some smart kid, digital native kid, in an internet cafe in the middle of nowhere who either figures out or buys one of these exploits. There are ways, workarounds, some infrastructure systems that are available on the eBay equivalent, not eBay, don't worry about that, where you can pay as little as about $25,000, which I agree is a lot for some terrorist in the middle of nowhere, but it's not a lot for some sponsor of some terrorist in the middle of nowhere. And then you can basically go into the back door of some infrastructure system that regulates, let's just say, the electric grid of some city. And so it doesn't have to be a nation state that's doing this stuff. And we have got to get much better at this, and it will require legislation to fully implement a whole of government response. And Congress is dithering on this thing. This is a bad story about Congress.
Without legislation to give us the appropriate framework, the agencies of government will argue, the private sector will resist, and we're going to have what I would forecast as a catastrophic event. That could be turning the power off on the East Coast. It could be the collapse of our banking system. It could be the failure of telecommunications. All that is possible. I'm aware it's possible because I know the capabilities of the offense side of this, and we're not omnipotent. So if we can do it, others can do it. And the worry is nation states are building them. Someone is going to get that capability because it's very portable. It's very easy to move through the net. And here's something that most people never think about. If I ask how many networks there are in the world, most people would say thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions. To the nation's code breaker, I got to be the nation's code breaker for a part of my life, there's one network. Anywhere on the world, you can touch any other part of the world. We're all riding through the same physical infrastructure. It's a glass pipe that moves at the speed of light, that carries classified information, government proprietary information, your personal email, everything that we do. Jim's story he's filing with the Atlantic, it's all the same piece of fiber. When you realize that the value of the country is moving through that public switch network, what we call the internet, that's the vulnerability that's been introduced, and we've got to find a way to address it, and it will require comprehensive legislation.